Well, hello there, adventurers. Welcome to Wally DM. Today we're going to take a look at one of my favorite monsters from the AD&D Monster Manual, as well as some of the upgrades I noticed in the Pathfinder Bestiary. We're going to take a look at the Doppelganger. So what exactly is a Doppelganger? Well, a doppelganger is a creature with the very unique ability to be able to transform itself, or polymorph, into the likeness of another humanoid creature that it comes in contact with. As a DM in the 80s and 90s, I played basic D&D and AD&D, and I've used the doppelganger quite a few times in my campaigns. The main purpose stated by the Monster Manual for a doppelganger was usually to get a character or an NPC off by itself, polymorph itself into an exact copy of that person, and then try to off them and replace them. So in a lot of our games, back then we only had maybe a couple of players, so 2 or 3 PCs. So the party always looked for an NPC or a hireling to go along with them. And as a DM, those were usually my targets for the doppelganger. The party would get separated. Maybe the NPC was lacking behind or went off to search for something, and the party loses contact with them for a little bit, and all of a sudden they come back as a doppelganger unbeknownst to the party. And I would usually let the NPC walk along with the party for a while, and then at an opportune time, the doppelganger tried to off the rest of the players of the parties. But that was the Monster Manual, and I was really pleasantly surprised to see in the Pathfinder Bestiary that the backstory of the doppelganger has evolved quite a bit. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the Pathfinder version of the Doppelganger. Here are 2 websites I have pulled up. On the left is the Paizo.com website, which goes over the stats and the description of the Doppelganger. Of course, this can be found in the Pathfinder Bestiary, in which I highly encourage you get the hardback version because it is very nice. Also good to have handy when you're running your adventures, but of course it is also available in PDF form, so I highly encourage you to get one or the other. On the right is PathfinderWiki.com, in which is I'm just displaying an image of the doppelganger, and here you can see it in its natural form, as described in the bestiary. This grayish humanoid creature seems almost unfinished, with a narrow head, gaunt limbs, and a sinister, noseless face. Now, as far as in my campaigns, there's only a handful of times that the party will encounter a doppelganger in its natural form. Usually, when it's been found out to be a phony or a fraud, and it needs to use its claw attacks, I'll have polymorph back into its natural form, and as you can see in the statistics there, the doppelganger gets 2 claw attacks in melee combat, which are good for an 8-sided die plus 4 worth of damage. Then the other times that I may have the party see a doppelganger in its natural form is if the doppelganger is taunting the party. Maybe they're in a position where they're unable to engage in combat or defeat the doppelganger at this time, and the doppelganger taunts them from afar by showing his true form or something like that. And then, of course, the third time that I would show a doppelganger in its true form is when it is defeated or when it dies. I could also include in that if the doppelganger was to beg for mercy. It's been found out through combating as something else, and then reverts to its true form, and then waves the white flag, if you will. But anyway, as I was saying earlier, there's a lot more to the doppelganger, and the Pathfinder Bestiary touches on that a little bit. But in my searches, I've also found an entire PDF that explains the doppelganger in detail that goes way beyond this book and any monster manual. If that's something that you'd be interested in seeing a video in, I'd be more than happy to do that. Just leave a comment below, and I will purchase the Doppelganger PDF, and we'll take a look and see what they have. So one of the main things that stood out to me is the paragraph that begins, "Doppelgangers prefer infiltrating societies where they can gather wealth and influence." So this helps set the ambitions for a doppelganger, as far as maybe they are interested in gold and gems and jewelry or magical items, or even they seek wealth and knowledge and gaining information. And as far as that goes, you can use a doppelganger to manipulate PCs, to manipulate barons or counts or members of the church or things of that nature. So instead of just in the old days when I would have a doppelganger come in and replace one of the party and then try to kill everybody and take all their gold and take off or things of that nature, I can now see a doppelganger as just having more of a goal in life, wanting to accomplish things, and using its shape-shifting and polymorphing ability to obtain those things. Aside from just wanting wealth and influence, the bestiary goes on further to say that maybe the doppelganger is more of a cruel creature that wants to wreak havoc, if you will, on the regular everyday lives of like husbands and wives or friends or things like that, where they just play, they shapeshift into one of those people and play one against the other, or just out to wreak havoc and ruin relationships, if you will. And it states here that they're not afraid, or they actually enjoy to change sex or race all the time to achieve these goals. So a doppelganger can really just be a twisted creature mentally. And again, just I loved reading the description of the Pathfinder bestiary, and it just opened up the world as far as ideas as to what a doppelganger in the world might be trying to do, or how you can include one in your campaign. Before we leave this page, I kind of just want to touch on a few more things as far as some of the statistics of the doppelganger. As you can see, the special abilities, the doppelganger has mimicry, which makes it proficient in all weapons, armors, and shield, which is very nice depending on who the doppelganger is masquerading as. We see here organization. The doppelganger is appearing as an individual, or as one, in pairs, or as a gang, which is kind of cool. I would even go as far as to say that there might even be a secret society of doppelgangers out there that have an overall purpose to do something in the world, and they're all working individually to make this plot happen. So that would actually be kind of a cool campaign or quest idea. I would probably take inspiration from the movie. I believe it's It Lives. It starred Roddy Piper, and there was a bunch of aliens, and they were living amongst humans. And Roddy Piper, his character, found a pair of glasses, maybe similar to a true seeing spell in the fantasy world, and he was able to see the humans as opposed to the aliens masquerading as humans, which honestly are just like doppelgangers. So maybe drawing some inspiration for that, for like a quest or campaign idea, is just a whole society of doppelgangers just trying to take over the world or achieve a larger goal. Other than that, the stats are pretty straightforward. Again, this is off the Paizo.com website. Also, I would highly encourage getting the bestiary to have that as well. I do see that the alignment of a doppelganger is neutral, despite the fact that it has been stated that they do sometimes lean towards some more sadistic and cruel intentions. They could also lean the other way. Maybe there's more of a friendly doppelganger that that's still neutral, but maybe a neutral good. I mean, as far as you're the DM, you could come up with whatever you wanted, and you can kind of role play the doppelganger as however you see fit, or whatever its intentions may be as far as its place in the world. So as you can see, the Pathfinder Bestiary does an amazing job at expanding on the original description of the doppelganger from the 80s and 90s in the Monster Manual. So now that we have more information and insight onto a doppelganger as far as its ambitions or some of the things it likes to do, how do we use one in our campaign? Well, maybe we need to explain some oddities going on with a king or a baron, or maybe one of the NPCs that the characters or the players have known for a long time disappears for a while, then comes back, but just isn't acting themselves. There's all kinds of things like that we could do to incorporate a doppelganger, and we might play it out a little bit, maybe over a few game sessions, and just keep dropping small hints here and there that this NPC or this character in this story just doesn't seem like themselves. And especially if your players have never encountered a doppelganger before, this may intrigue them. This may go on a little bit, and then a little bit down the road, there's this big reveal. Maybe somebody walks around the corner and surprises them, the doppelganger, and sees them in their natural form, or maybe finally the doppelganger sees an opportunity to attack the party and get what it's been after for a long time, or something like that. So all kinds of different things that we can draw on from the doppelganger as far as creating encounters, changing our story, or creating quests and side quests. Now, one way that you could use a doppelganger that I would urge you to be very, very careful with is maybe one of the PCs got separated from the rest of the group. And by PCs, I mean one of the players, his or her character got separated, or maybe one player didn't show up for the campaign. They missed the session. And while they were gone, maybe a doppelganger imprisoned them or even killed them. And it's up to that player to play the doppelganger for a session or a game or two. But like I said, I would use extreme caution with this. You don't want to lose the trust of your other players. But it could also be fun. You could at the end be this big reveal that if the player played the doppelganger right, that the other party didn't know, and it just leads to maybe just this epic kind of a moment. So like I said, just another idea, and that idea using a doppelganger has just been around for ages, since D&D was a thing all the way back into the 70s. So one more thing before I go. This came up, I was getting ready to do this video, and I was reading up on doppelgangers, going through the different monster manuals and such, and the thought occurred to me, when the doppelganger switches or polymorphs itself into another person, does that include the clothing and equipment? Because if it didn't, if it was just copying the features of the doppelganger copying the features of a character, are they naked, or what's going on? Using an old example, if all of a sudden a character or an NPC disappear for a little bit, and then they come back and say, "Hey guys," and they don't have any clothes on, chances are they're probably a doppelganger. So I did a little bit of research, and trying to find the answer for this online wasn't very easy. And the Pathfinder Bestiary and the basic Red Book D&D DM guide that I have, neither one of them said anything about when a doppelganger polymorphs or turns itself into something, anything at all about clothing or equipment. But Gary Gygax provides us the answer in our monster manual. The very last line reads, "Note, a doppelganger actually forms itself into the likeness of the clothing and equipment of the imitated creature, as well as the physical features thereof." So a big thanks to Gary Gygax for putting that note in the monster manual. And of course, I am a home brewer and although we're playing Pathfinder rules, I incorporate stuff from all different sessions of D&D. So that is what I'm going to use. If a doppelganger is in my campaign, they transform. It includes clothing and equipment. Very similar to, if you're familiar with the X-Men, to Mystique, how she can just be walking and all of a sudden polymorph herself into somebody else. And if I do have a doppelganger in my campaign, I'll probably use that ability pretty handily to help a doppelganger get away. As it starts running, maybe just an automatic polymorph into a nearby humanoid to help disguise itself and get away if it feels like it's in danger. So there you have it, folks. Classic monster, doppelganger from the Monster Manual, with really good improvements in the Pathfinder Bestiary. So, the doppelganger. What did you think? Did I miss anything? As a DM, how do you incorporate the doppelganger in your campaigns? As a PC, what's one of your favorite stories that include a doppelganger? Please comment below. I'm really interested to see what you have to say about this monster, or any other your thoughts on the doppelganger. So, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and on to the next.